morning. We are going to take a few minutes this morning to recognize Veterans Day. We always like to stop and do that every year, as we should. This entire week, I know Veterans Day is actually Friday, but I'm sure there will be Veterans Day things going on all this week, and we always like to take a moment the Sunday before and recognize that. And if some stuff down, don't leave here. It's going to take a couple of minutes. But a little history about Veterans Day. I always have to look it up. So it was originally Armistice Day. I'm sure you guys all know this. Began 1918 when there was an armistice or a truce. I looked that word up. On the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour in 1918, that was the end of World War I. And they thought it was the wars to end all wars. So they originally called it Armistice Day. However, World War II happened, and then the Korean War, and so they thought maybe we should rename it. So in 1954, then President Eisenhower and Congress amended it from Armistice Day to Veterans Day to honor all of the American veterans for all wars. So they were trying to include it all. So for a time, they actually switched Veterans Day, I didn't know this either, fun fact, to the fourth Monday in October every year, but that was confusing. And so the states all came together, they got it, they decided it was too confusing, so finally in 1975, President Gerald Ford signed a new law declaring November 11th as the National Observance Day to honor the original date of Armistice Day. It was a revert back to that. So that's why November 11th is our National Veterans Day remembrance. Also, fun fact, the USA is not the only country that observes Veterans Day. Great Britain, France, Australia, and Canada also commemorate Veterans Day on November 11th or the second Sunday in November, but they call it usually Remembrance Day. And it's a very common observance for them in their countries to observe a 2 minutes of silence at 11 a.m. every November 11th throughout their country. So I thought that was, and then also, this is where the poppies come in. We've all seen that like on Facebook or something, the poppies. So they make wreaths of them in Great Britain and in those other countries, or we all see the pins and they're all asked to pass it around because the poppy is a symbolic sign of observance. So that's where the poppy came in. I didn't know that for a long time either. And so, as we recognize our veterans today, hugely we recognize that their willingness to leave behind their homes and their families and go to war or face trials, that we all might not be here in this wonderful free country that we have, and the world as a whole, I think, would be in decline or more fallen than it has been because of the bravery of our veterans. Normally, Veterans Day is a tribute or to recognize veterans that are still with us, as Memorial Day recognizes those who have passed on. But I think we recognize all veterans on Veterans Day, regardless of whether they're here with us or not. But we all like to recognize the ones that are still with us. That's what we'll do this morning. So I was also looking around, you say sometimes the same things over and over again, and so I find other mediums that help me say things better. And I found this poem that I think says it very appropriately, so I'll just read that to you now. When America had an urgent need, these brave ones raised a hand. No hesitation held them back. They were proud to take a stand. They left their friends and family. They gave up normal life to serve their country and their God, and they plowed into strife. They fought for freedom and for peace on strange and foreign shores. Some lost friends, some lost their lives in long and brutal wars. Other veterans answered a call to support the ones who fought. Their country had requirements for the essential skills they brought. We salute every one of them, the noble and the brave, the ones still with us here today, and those who rest in the grave. And so here's to our country's heroes. They are cut above the rest. Let's give the honor that is due to our country's very best. I think that says it very well. Yeah.
Amen.
I also think that I think it's very clear that if we look into Scripture, that God also appreciates and instructs us to honor those who sacrifice themselves. And I did find a couple of scriptures that I think embodies that I'll share. One is in Romans 12, 9 through 13, which really is talking about Christian conduct, but I think it sort of embodies what most of our soldiers and veterans, it seems like it fits their persona. It says, let love be without dissimulation, abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good, be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulations, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, and given to hospitality. And I think that does say a lot about and embodies a lot of what we think of our veterans and the people that serve in all of these branches that we know and love. Of course, the most popular one and the one that's most, I think, says it all, is John 15:13, of course. Greater love hath no man than this, than a man that would lay down his life for his friends. And we just can't imagine the bravery, and we're just so thankful. I mean, it's just not enough to say thank you. I mean, as much as we are thankful for those, for whatever reason you went into the service, and whatever service that was, whether it was in a war, at a time of peace, it's just the giving of yourselves is something that our words just can't repay you for, but just know in our heart of hearts our gratitude. So there's a few other people that have, and I'm sure coming this week there'll be lots of speeches from people, and over the years and hundreds of years there's been statements for veterans or those who've served, and I grabbed a couple of their quotes because again I think it's so fitting. So Alexander Hamilton once said, there is a certain enthusiasm in liberty that makes human nature rise above itself in acts of bravery and heroism. So true. The great President Abraham Lincoln said, the brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or distract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. Amen. Also, Scottish poet Thomas Campbell. The patriot's blood is the seed of freedom's tree, which I thought was so poignant. It says it right. And I think my most favorite of all was this one by John F. Kennedy. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. And so I hope that we are able to this week and as our church recognize and appreciate our veterans and live up to that sacrifice that they gave us. Again, our heartfelt appreciation and thanks to all. If I could at this time, could my veterans stand? Just stand where you are. If Al, if Bob, if John, where's Brother Johnston in the back? Yeah. If you could come step forward for me, please. So, if you would join me in just a round of applause as a thank you to them, I would really appreciate it. And I do. Thank you from all of us. I do have a little token to give each one of you, and it's just a token because it could never repay you for what you were willing to do for us. And that's all I have for today. Thank you, gentlemen.